Good evening and welcome to the Savage Universe stream on all of the Pinnacle Entertainment Group's online platforms. I am JM, and with me tonight I have James. James, welcome to the Savage Universe stream. We're here to talk about Void Runners and the Ravnivori Empire. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm doing better after hearing that intro music.
Right?
Somebody needs to write a one-sheet adventure based off that music and just say, if you want inspiration, play that music, because that is a Savage Worlds adventure waiting to happen.
And you know what? We're coming up on the Creator Jam. So if you're looking for inspiration for Fast, Fun, Furious February, listen to our intro music, and
Yeah,
you got your one sheet sort of right there. So let's start off.
Space battle, car chase. It's something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So James, why don't you tell us about how you got into Savage Worlds, and what made you want to write Void Runners?
I got into Savage Worlds. Probably right after the first edition came out. I was listening to a podcast called Fear the Boot.
I remember Fear the Boot.
Yeah. So if you remember, and I can't remember the guy's name, the guy who introduced it. I met them. I went to Fear the Con like 3 years in a row. The first 3 years that they had Fear the Con, I went to Fear the Con. But one of the guys on the show was a real proponent of Savage Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually met a guy from Arlington when I went to Fear the Con. So Fear the Con was in St. Louis. So I met a guy from Arlington, and then we started playing. I'm in Dallas, by the way. There's the context.
I'm in Dallas. I'm like 5 minutes from Arlington. We should play Savage Worlds sometime. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm in Garland. So
I'm in Grand Prairie.
There you go. We picked it up there. We played some zombie adventures. We played some stuff, with another group of friends. But the Ravnivori Empire had kind of been kicking around. It originally started as a play-by-post forum, and then but it didn't have a rule system, right? It was just pure narrative play-by-post forum. And then it occurred to me, that Savage Worlds is just a great system for all that I'm looking to do, right? So I've been playing D&D and Marvel Superheroes game and Shadowrun, and I started playing in the late 80s and just hit the boom in the 90s, and one of these days I'm going to write down every role-playing game I've ever played, and then try to figure out where I went wrong with my life, right? But it was around 2000 we were playing Pathfinder, but Pathfinder would not work for what the Ravnivori Empire is and Void Runners. So I really loved the vehicle rules. I loved how easy it was to create bad guys. I loved how easy it was to create races, and it was all balanced. It was simple. It was really easy to bolt on expansions to, hey, we're going to do a chase, we're going to do a dramatic task, we're going to do whatever, without when you're designing in Pathfinder, it's okay, I'm going to design this for 2.5 hours, and then it's going to last about 30 minutes, and then hopefully they don't go left when I hope they go right, because otherwise they're going to see these monsters again at another point, right? So
right.
So basically I took the old forum stuff that I had created, and just started hammering through it to actually have the rules and everything that would fit, including the races and the ships and all that, and sampling from lots of places. I drew inspiration from the sci-fi, the old sci-fi companion, and what was it, Pirates of the Spanish Main,
mm-hmm.
for the ship combat. So kind of taking those as guidelines, and then taking inspiration from pulp stories about traveling through space, non-scientific ways, magic ways. So just putting all that together into a system.
So, for those who may not know what Void Runners or the Ravnivori Empire is,
Yeah.
give us
So
the high level.
So Void Runners is the elevator pitch is Void Runners is Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings, or Star Trek meets Game of Thrones, or I guess Master and Commander meets Halo. So it is
All great references.
um,
I have a very clear image of what this is in my head.
yeah, so it's all tall ships in space, pirate ships in space. Spectacular designs for a lot of the ships, kind of fanciful, and then that's the big framework of, hey, you can it's just space. It's got its own physics, so it all works. And then the Ravnivori Empire is actually my it's hard to say homebrew when you publish it, but basically my nation, my world. The Ravnivori Empire is a world run by a single nation, single empire, and the opening is a quote from the Emperor Ravnivorous that says, "An empire that's not growing is dying," and so he conquered his planet, and then he didn't have any place to go, kind of like when Alexander reached the ocean, right?
Right, and weep for there were no more worlds to conquest.
Exactly. And so and then a few decades later, this new technology came. They discovered this new technology that let them reach out into space, and so they started going to other planets, and much to their surprise, there were already people there, and there were already people who could also fly in ships there. And so there's just an entire universe. And so the idea and the presupposition in Ravnivori Empire is that you do play a member of the empire, and at some level, a citizen and or an agent of the emperor, or the empire. And then obviously the bones are there for any sort of adventures. If you want to be a solo, a privateer or a pirate, or just a smuggler, that's all there too. But I just love I love the vastness of, hey, instead of, in a lot of settings, it's, oh, there's another continent that nobody knew about, and there's where these strange people are from. It's, hey, we went to this new world, and there's no telling what's going to be going on this new world. So I really like that. I really like that idea, and that's kind of where the inspiration came from.
Well, I've posted the link to the PDF in the chat. Now, this is a revised edition, and as you sent me stuff, we were talking about it. This is very clearly Jan's layout work.
Yeah.
So what's new in the revised edition?
So Jan reached out to me and was basically Jan reached out to me and was basically like, hey, I can make this better. And
the answer is always yes if he asks you.
The answer is yeah. The answer is absolutely yes, because the revised edition has been in the top 6 of the best-selling community content on DriveThruRPG for, I think, since November, right?
Look at that great layout, guys. That's fantastic.
Now I kind of put Jan off because I was like, hey, I can't pay you. You're going to do, I felt guilty, basically, kind of a little bit of imposter syndrome there. But, he showed me some pages and was like, hey, this is what I would do. And I was like, you know what? Who am I to say no? Right. And so don't make it a priority. So it took him a little while, but you can see the results there.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
So it looks way better than the original version that I did. And to tell you how much better it looks, give you a little sense of how much better it looks. it's the first thing that I did on Affinity Publisher. So before that, I was doing everything in like Word and just exporting as a PDF. It's the first thing that I did on publishing software. And so, Jan really knows how to, if nothing else, he knows how to go find stock art. He knows how to create those headers and everything.
Yeah,
So
pull it all together. Yeah, Alan says that it's stunning work, and I would agree with that.
absolutely, yeah. As far as actual content, there's not any real. There's one section of new content, which is pretty short. It's hex based combat instead of the dogfight chase based combat from Savage World. So it just has rules for how these vessels can fight in space in hex based combat. And to the chat, Affinity actually is really good stuff. I tell people anytime they ask about Affinity, I feel like a chimp trying to microwave a burrito. Like all the tools are there. I just don't know exactly how they work, but there's a learning curve, but
Yeah.
you can get something and you can get something that looks pretty decent out early. Right. So it's, I can't tell you how important a main page is and having that set up and then moving from there. But because doing page by page is crazy. So
Um, Alan says that Section D was done with Affinity, and Section
yeah.
D is gorgeous. I love that book.
It's funny. I'm in the Drive Through RPG chat, and there's this beautiful game called New Edo, and the guy did it all in Word, and it's like 200 pages, and I'm like, you either have the patience of the saint or the masochistic streak of a Cenobite. I don't know which one. There's no, yeah.
Nice reference there. Angels to some, demons to others, right?
Yes. Yeah. It was, yeah. It's crazy. It's gorgeous, and I'm like, I don't know how you did this.
Sorcery is
Exactly.
the only
Yep.
acceptable response.
Yep.
So why don't you tell us a couple, like, what are some of the highlights of Void Runners for you? If you were trying to sell people on Void Runners, like maybe some setting rules or
Yeah.
some of the species you can play, what does Void Runners bring to the table?
Yeah, so there's most of the standard fantasy species: elves, dwarves, humans, minotaurs, and amazons. Minotaurs, there are only male minotaurs, but they can have children with females of many species, including amazons. There's only female amazons, but they can have children of many species with many other species. But
So they're Manotars. I'm so
yes,
sorry.
basically,
I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
no, that's good.
That was for
And
Crypt,
so,
right? That was right for you, buddy.
so the anytime an Amazon has a girl, it's an Amazon, and anytime a Minotaur has a boy, it's a Minotaur. But you would never. It has been suggested by people that they are the same species, just with serious, gender diversity. But nobody ever suggests it in their presence twice, right? Because they can't stand each other. So centaurs are in there, saurians, troglins, which are the only small species. So they're little sort of goat, underground goat people, kind of a cross between, I don't know, like a beast person and a kobold. And then you get into some of the weird, and those are all native to the Ravnivori homeworld of Retra. But then you get into like there's a planet nearby that is mostly air. It's got floating islands, and it's populated by giants and cyclops, and so you can actually play a cyclops. The dromopodons are very unusual. They're basically scorpion centaur scorpions. So they're
Oh wow!
humanoid torso on a scorpion body.
As a long time Glorantha fan, I enjoy
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
Scorpion Man.
yeah. And then so as far as custom rules, obviously there's all the rules that you need for running the Void Runners, which are the ships that can go through the void. So customization, design, repair, crew, and I try to do like the base level, right? So, hey, this is the simplest way to run it, and then sidebars that are like, if you want to be a little more complex, here's how you can be a little more complex. If you want to be a lot more complex, don't. But here's how you can be a lot more complex, right? So, I like to keep, part of the joy of Savage Worlds for me is I do not want to count every gold piece, right? So,
Right.
and I don't want to have to keep track of, hey, did this guy get paid? How much is it going to cost to pay my crew and make sure that they get fed and all that? To me, that's not the entertaining part of an adventure, right? No, I don't stop working on my computer at my day job to go do paperwork and bookkeeping. Um, so there's that.
So no
I also,
vector-based thrust
yeah,
rules.
no, none of that, none of that. There are air rules, right? So you at least have to pay attention, but some of that is also GM conceit, like, oh, we're running out of air. Why are we running out of air? Because it's going to be an interesting adventure. You're going to have to go to this planet to get some fresh air, right? So, so it has several systems laid out. Both the Ravnivori home system, and then another star system, and then a third that I call the System of Wonders, which is nobody knows exactly how it got there, but people think that it's places where gods have left either planets that didn't work out, or that they are trying to keep separate. So one of them, for example, is being held up by a giant man who is standing on top of a giant turtle that is walking around, that is circling the star, walking around on nothing, right? So, and nobody has been able to communicate with the man or get his attention at all. And so, the odd thing about the planet is, um, he's human looking, but all the species on the planet have animal heads of various sorts, and so. It's almost like it's like, what is he studying it? Is he, why is this here? And nobody knows, and nobody can figure it out.
I'm sensing a lot of uh, influence and themes from sort of Greek mythology. Is that, with the
Yeah,
species like Atlas holding up a planet,
yeah. That inspiration came a little bit from man, I can't remember names tonight. um there is a series of novels by a very famous writer where the planet is being carried around on the back of an elephant,
Discworld
or back or
by Terry
Discworld.
Pratchett. Yeah,
Yes,
John
exactly.
Doom. John Doom was tracking with us.
Yeah. Terry Pratchett. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so I pull from everywhere. I mean, I do really I love Greek mythology. I'm a Sagittarius, so I love centaurs, right? So I always got to
Right.
include a centaur. And then, but yeah, so Greek mythology, Roman mythology is there. And then let's see, other rules. I like the mass battle rules, but sometimes they're a little too big. So I came up with a rule system called squad based battles, where it basically uses the mass battle rules, but for smaller groups, and your characters aren't entirely. It's less abstract, so they're not entirely wrapped up in these abstract missions, right? They're actually fighting, and the unit sizes are small enough where their impact in the combat and around combat actually affects the bigger battle in a round to round way. So just a slight adaptation. And then the last custom rules I have is dynamic combat, which is this was created back in before or no it always felt like a waste when you would get more than one raise on a to hit roll,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I'm doing I'm doing extra damage, but look, I got like a 30. Like, why is this going
What
to
else
waste,
could
right?
I
And
be
so
getting? Yeah, yeah.
what else? Yeah, and so there's the way the dynamic combat works is for every raise you get or a couple of raises you get, you can make somebody break cover, or you can pin them in place, or
I like that.
when you get that really spectacular success, it has an additional benefit for you.
Now, there are other Void Runners books beyond just the Ravnivori Empire, correct?
Yeah, so I've also created 3 one-sheet adventures.
Okay.
The first 2 are called Cat and Mouse and Into the Void. And so they have the covers for those. So I always cheat with one-sheet adventures, right? So they're never just one sheet. And so with Cat and Mouse and Into the Void, the cover is the top deck and the below decks of a Void Runner ship as a map, right? And so if you get them both, you have a ship map that you can use for for hand-to-hand combat on a ship. The Cat and Mouse introduces the Bastoi as a character race. They're cat folk, and so they're kind of they would be rivals to the Ravnivori, except for they're cat people, so they never get it together enough to actually like be. They're never organized enough to really be rivals to anybody. They're all just kind of doing their own thing. And then Into the Void, kind of inspired by Star Trek Voyager. You get this upgrade. They're testing this upgrade to this engine, and you end up way too far away from where you're supposed to be, right? And then,
Right.
What you find there. So, and then the other one is Undying Love, which was actually my submission last year for Fast Furious Fun Friday or February. And so it's about visiting this nation state that's undergoing a disaster because their long dead queen has woken up and is looking for her lover and can't find him. And so
Awesome.
So and his body was buried on the moon and they can't get there. So guess who has a ship that can go to the moon? And then I just released Encounters in the Edge, which is my biggest expansion. It's actually 5 adventures, multi-page adventures, and those are. I was inspired by a Solomon Kane book, The Savage Foes of Solomon Kane, and it is basically there's a bad guy and a story, and there's it's not always a bad guy. Anyway, there's a person that you could encounter, and then an adventure based around them. So that's kind of what I based that on, and then there's an artist named Val Cyrene on. He has a Patreon. You guys should all back it. I really liked his art style, and so he was part of his Patreon. He does a free image, and so I used his free images as the inspiration for those foes, and then wrote the encounters based around them.
I love that. Like there's actually a lot of really great creativity that comes out of something like that. I think of one of my favorite board games, Scythe, was all based off this guy's art. And the game designer was like, hey, I want to make a board game based around your art. And you're like,
right. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Right. Yeah. And sometimes you sit down and it's like, I need to write something. I need to create something. And it's like, well, what? Right. And so if you can find inspiration and even put those limits on yourself to say, okay, it's going to be this art. It's going to be based off of this guy's art. So, I'm going to go get that. And that's going to be my inspiration. It can be really helpful to do that. Game jams are like that too, where it's like, hey, here's our theme. Like even Undying Love was written because last year's theme was for Fast Furious Fun February was love and death, right? And so Undying Love is what I came up with, and then this year's is
Dreams of Rebellion.
Yeah. So So I have an idea. I haven't started writing it yet because um, I had an idea. I've had an idea floating around in my head for a long time now for a locked door mystery, and I just don't. Investigation is not really the Ravnivori theme, right? It's more, high adventure and exploration and planetary romance, which was not a phrase that I knew before I started writing this. And I'm
John
like,
Carter.
yeah, I'm like, planetary romance. What, like you go like the green aliens that Kirk is always kissing? Is that planetary romance? But it's not. It's where basically the exploration of the planet or the weird stuff about the planet is what the story is about,
Yeah,
right? So
romance, capital R, not romance.
yes.
Yeah. And if I
But
remember correctly, I think the original, like Star-Lord, who everyone now knows because of Chris Pratt's character in
right,
Guardians of the Galaxy, the original Star-Lord comics were actually
uh,
planetary romance.
that wouldn't surprise me. I'm a huge Marvel fan too, so I know, like Rocket Raccoon's original
Oh
name was
yeah.
Rocky Raccoon because it was
Yep.
based on a song, and then the Rocket Raccoon miniseries is brilliant. So, and weird, it's super weird and brilliant. But
Oh yeah. And
yeah,
yeah, Overland Gamer, that's correct. Vason was also based off this guy's art. Tink picked up on that and was answering that as well. The art for that game is also amazing. And you mentioned something, James, about the creative freedom that happens kind of working in a box, and I love
yeah,
that because so many times we approach writing and design from a almost, well, it's got to be a kitchen sink kind of a thing, right? Where
right,
like, and I love these settings. This is not me disparaging on them at all, but like the Forgotten Realms or
right,
Golarion, or like I've got to get one of everything and two elves at
yeah,
least in this setting. And there's just
yeah.
something freedom about going, here is the box that I'm going to play in,
Well,
and that's it.
and I play and run a lot of Pathfinder and Pathfinder 2e. I'm not loyal to any game system.
Mm-hmm.
I'll write for just about anything if it's the right setting for, because there's different game settings where different adventures work, where different themes work. And so but to your point with Golarion, I just ran an adventure and there was an entire like invasion that wasn't the point, that was from a group of haunted clockworks that are underground that I've never seen reference anywhere before or after. And I'm like,
Right.
this is a multi-part adventure. Like discovering these weird clockworks, figuring out what's going on and exploring them. And it was a subplot of this adventure, right? And so that's kind of what you get into. Like, oh, there's
Yeah.
all these great ideas, but you can't really explore them. And so they just kind of come and go, and yeah, they're there, but do they matter, right?
They
So
sit on the shelf in our brain until one day our subconscious goes, you know, if you tweaked it just a little bit,
oh
you could
yeah.
do something with it.
Oh yeah, it's already sitting back there. It's already running back there.
So, is there anything else that you have planned coming out for Void Runners?
For Void Runners, yes, I do have the framework of an adventure in my head that I'm going to try to publish by, to get involved in Fast Furious Fun February, to be included. But the dilemma is, I have this sealed room murder that it occurred to me after talking to Jan, to that it would be great for his City Guard Chronicles, right? Or that it might fit into City Guard
Mm-hmm.
Chronicles. And so I reached out to him. I asked him, and he was kind enough to say yes, that he was interested. And so I've started writing that. And sorry, January 11th. So I have to get that done and over to him, and then get started on my Fast Furious Fun. Like I said, I have the idea for it. It will probably come out. I'm calling it, uh, and not. I do love rhymes, and I love. Um, see, no words are working for me tonight. Where the first letters are the same. The
Alliteration?
first alliteration. I love rhymes and alliteration. So it's probably going to be called the Velian Rebellion, which isn't quite a rhyme, but is like
No, but
that
it's got
old.
It's got a good cadence to it.
Yeah, it's like that old Tiger Tiger Burning Bright, which made me for years think that it was pronounced symmetry and not symmetry, right? Because it's what immortal hand or eye can frame thy immortal symmetry.
Yeah.
But I wanted it to rhyme.
The trochaic meter. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So essentially, the idea is that the first planet the Ravnivori found is the next one out from their star, in their system. It's called Vel, and it's another planet that is mostly it's made up of 6 continent-sized chunks of rock, basically, that are covered in forests. So just kind of imagine indoor, but 6 of them kind of rotating around each other, close enough where if you can fly high enough even without a ship, the birds can migrate from one continent to another by crossing over. But the Ravnivori have colonized different places on it, and essentially what happens is there's a rebellion in one of those colonies, and you're there to help quell the rebellion, because it's actually not justified. It's people who are rebelling for the wrong reasons, I guess, which is hard in American society to even say, right? Because it's kind of of course the rebels are always right? Like that's kind of the American thought process. But
it's almost as if our entire base national identity was on rebellion.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you're from Texas, but I'm born, raised, bred way back from, my family's been here since, well, one of my ancestors fought in the Texas Revolution. So of all the rebellious states, Texas is like, Spain, forget you. Mexico,
that's right.
Forget you.
Come and take it. No, I actually migrated here from Colorado about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Well, you're in for a treat. So, or a nightmare. You'll either love it or you'll hate it. So.
The Savage World. I've already made a ton of friends in the Savage World community here in the Dallas area. So that's been. I mean, I left the Rocky Mountain Savages.
Yeah.
Area, but
right.
We'll get a DFW wild cards thing started or something like that.
Yep. Sounds good.
So speaking of the Creator Jam, in case you missed out last week, go to YouTube, watch my interview with Alb, find out what the Creator Jam is. And if you are posting things both on the Discord server or online, if you're chronicling your journey through the Creator Jam, use the hashtag FFFFebruary. That's 4 F's February, just so we can keep track of it. And pleased to say that we're going to be hosting the results of the Creator Jam. It's not a contest. It's not like we're going to rank them, or people who submit something will, it'll, fall off or anything like that. But we're going to be hosting that on the Savage Universe website, which is going to be awesome. Like, it's your one-stop shop for anything created by the community. And what's more created by the community than the Creator Jam?
Yeah, there you go. I love the Savage Discord community too. So,
yes.
And I've met lots of. That's how I met Jan and Cyril and all that. So it's really good. That's the other part too. Sometimes it's nice having the framework, but sometimes it's also nice seeing just what other people are doing, what they're thinking about, what they're even seeing. Hey, I just released this, and kind of spinning off of that is great too. So
it's a great community. If you are looking to get involved in creating your own Savage Worlds content, head over to the unofficial Savage Worlds Discord channel. You will find a ton of great people who are super welcoming and also ready to give feedback on things that get created and put out. So any final thoughts, James? Anything you want to add about, Void Runners or City Guard or any other projects you might be working on?
Not really. I mean, I always thought that Void Runners was good, but that's kind of like, I think my daughter's good.
Right.
So take that with a little bit of grain of salt. I also always knew that it didn't look great because I was not a great layout designer, publisher, especially the original one. It was always on my in the back of my brain. I really need to go back with what I've learned and start over. But it was 200 pages when I did it. It's about 180 pages after Jan did his magic on it. There's no content removed, but he was able to use the space more efficiently, right? So now it's got good content because I think it's good content, and it looks pretty, right? So he's taken my Salzir and turned it into a silk purse, I guess.
Yeah, and Tink points out that the layout is beautiful, and I would just second that. And thanks to Jan for being such a great asset to the community.
Yeah.
And thanks to you guys. Just to let you guys know, Twitch published all of their numbers, and our channel was in the top 10% for our category, and that's because you guys show up and want to help. You're excited about Savage Worlds. You're excited about Savage Universe. I just want to say thank you to everybody who has supported us over the last year. So I'm going to post the link one more time for Void Runners, a revised edition of the Ravnivori Empire. James, thanks for joining us and hanging out with us for a bit and just talking about Savage Worlds and, of course, Void Runners.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So let me end with one final question. What is your favorite thing about Savage Worlds? Like when you're a GM, what's your favorite mechanic, your favorite piece, your favorite thing about Savage Worlds?
Probably my favorite thing is the Benny system, and some of the things that we've done. We've adapted with the Benny system. I actually, when I run, I use three different colored bennies. So one is just the regular Benny that works the same way as usual. One is a different color, and you can share those freely. Like you don't have to have an edge to share them. If you think somebody needs to re-roll, you can share those freely. And then the last one is another color, and there's only one of those in the mix. And when you get that one, you can define something either in the battle or in the larger, either when you use it or in the larger world. So it lets the players be involved in that creative system. And then the friend of mine that I met at Fear of the Con, he is kind of a jerk when he's a GM, but in the fun way. And so he uses what we call the black Benny because it's black. And when you play that, he gets it. And so he has a mark in our gaming group who he gives that guy the black Benny every single time, and he runs through it. He runs through his bennies lickety split, and then is spending that, and then the GM has another Benny to use against us. So
I like that cycle.
The great thing about the bennies is you have your and the concept is all over, right? There's hero points in Pathfinder 2e now, and I think a lot of them have it. But the idea of the dice just went against you, and that sucks. So here is another economy. It's not going to break the game. It's not going to ruin anything, but you're not just going to have a streak of bad luck or a single bad roll ruin your night. Yeah, the hard choice bennies are the worst, right? Like, oh, I need this soak roll. I'm gonna roll the soak roll. Oh man, that failed. Do I spend my last Benny or do I take these 2 wounds and then save the last one so that I can make another soak roll next round, right? So
one of the things I love, Tinker Hellraiser plays in my games, and one of the things I love about having her in my games is I know that first roll of the night that goes poorly for her, like she'll throw all of her bennies in on that roll. Yeah. And then it's like, well, now you have 0 bennies. Good luck for the rest of the, until the next.
Yeah. If her luck's anything like mine, I was playing again. I play a lot of Pathfinder. I rolled a 1 on the D20, right? So crit fail. I spent my hero point. I rolled a 1 on the reroll. So, and that's just how it works. Like I almost don't bother spending bennies or hero points because I'm just going to fail again. Like I just spend it to fail again
Yeah,
because
my
that's
dice
just
have
how my
already
luck
made their
runs.
decision.
Yeah, yeah. Who am I to judge or question the random number generator? Right. The dice gods have spoken. So
That's right. The oracular power of dice should not be underestimated.
correct. Yep.
Well, next week I think we're just continuing our sci-fi theme. At least for this week and next week, we're going to have Maria of the Goblin Society games on to talk about their setting, Hellbeam, and I'm looking forward to that. So join us next week when we chat with Maria. James, thanks again for coming on and just hanging out and talking about
Thank you.
About Void Runners. If you haven't checked out Void Runners and you're at all interested, it's now available with 100% new layout, and it's gorgeous. Go check it out.
Yep. Thank you.
So until next time, go out and play some Savage Worlds. Oh man, I think everyone on this chat would love Savage Worlds movie. That would be amazing, Overland Gamer. So yeah, check out, go play some Savage Worlds. May all your dice ace. And I am JM. This has been a Savage Universe show, and we'll see you all in a week. Have a good one.